What's up guys? Welcome to Millennials with Money, the channel that helps you take control of your finances and create a bright financial future. I'm Johnny, and if you like today's video, please hit the like button, click subscribe with the notification bell, and tell another millennial. So some of you watching this video may be going back to university in your respective countries, or you may already be back at university. It's probably going to be a very different year from what you would normally expect to experience as a student. So before I start this video, I just want to wish you all well. I wish you the best experience that you can have as a student this year. And I hope that you're all staying safe and well. The student experience is one of the most enjoyable and fun experiences that you can have in life. I know when I was a student, I had a great time, I had great fun. However, it can also be a very financially challenging time for a lot of students as well. From experience, I studied my bachelor's in the UK and my master's in both the UK and France, and I can definitely tell you that there were some financially challenging times throughout that period of my life. So my goal with this video is to share with you some of the tips and the advice that I've learned and I put into practice in my own situation to help me save a bit of money and to get through those tough times. So let's get into it. Now, the first category that I'm going to start with, it's maybe not applicable for those that are already at university this year. This will maybe be more applicable next year if you're going into another year of study, or if you're thinking about going to university next year, then you may want to consider this, and that is the category accommodation. In a lot of countries, I know from my experience in the UK and France, will market and try and sell you student accommodations. Now, these places are great because it's a great place to meet like-minded people, students that are in the same situation as you, and you can all mix and get to know each other. However, you will often pay an extortionate, considerably high price for your accommodation. The reason for that is because the organizations that manage these student accommodations, they're tailoring their services and what they're selling to you, the student room, to a very niche group, that's you, the student. So as they're selling it to you as part of the student experience, they often mark up the price significantly, and they're going to put you a lot more out of pocket and make you pay a lot more than you necessarily have to pay. I will tell you right now, do not feel obliged to go down this route and pay more for a student accommodation if you don't want to. There are other options out there. And there's two main alternatives that I would suggest to you. Number one is pretty obvious. It's to stay at home with your parents. If you're living in the same city where you're studying, you'll obviously be able to save a considerable amount on rent. You'll probably even live rent-free or with minimal contributions towards your household as a result. If you want that student experience though, just make sure that you do stay in touch with your classmates, with university societies, with sports clubs, so that you don't feel a bit out of the picture and left on the side. Another suggestion for people who are studying a bit further away from home is to do an apartment or flat share or house share. This is where you typically find other young people or other students, and you'll find a normal house, a normal apartment, and you'll live together and share the rent. And because you're staying in a pretty normal accommodation, you won't pay that additional markup that the student accommodations will charge you, and your rent will be significantly cheaper. For those of you in UK universities, perhaps your students' union has a letting service of its own where you can rent properties, but you will get preferential conditions that where you will be protected as a student, and typically you will pay a lower price in rent as well. So another option to consider for UK students. Category number two, where you can save money on, is socializing. This is obviously a huge part of the university experience, and it's one of the most fun parts. When I say socializing, I am specifically referring here to going out to bars, parties, nightclubs, social events. Now, as fun as it is to go out as a student while you're young and free, you don't have to do it every single night, and you don't have to drink alcohol every night until you're passed out on the floor. There are ways of still having fun and doing it cheaper. To save money on socializing, I would recommend planning your nights out. It's really up to you the frequency at which you go out, but I think as a student, once or twice a week is a reasonable number of times to go out. And for your nights out, consider making a budget, and you stick to that budget so that you don't overspend on your drinks or expenses for that night out. And guys, breaking news, not every night out has to involve alcohol. It's perfectly possible to go out and have fun without drinking alcohol. Depending on what you drink, A Coke or an orange juice can sometimes work out cheaper than alcohol, and in a lot of places you can get a glass of water from the tap absolutely free. And for the nights where you do decide to drink, it's obviously going to be more expensive in the bars and clubs, so why not try and drink your alcohol before you leave home and before you get to the club. Now if you do decide to do this, please drink safely and responsibly, and be sure to obey any laws regarding alcohol where you live. And a final recommendation for socializing, which I'm sure will be very unpopular with some people, is ditch that takeaway that you have at the end of the night. I know how great it is to have a big greasy McDonald's with fries or that kebab from the kebab shop just down the road, but trust me, if you do this every time you go out, that's slowly gonna add up, and at the end of the month, you might have spent the same amount on takeaways that you spend on drinks in just one night out. My alternative recommendation for this, what I used to do when I was at university, is I used to have a bowl of cereal or a yogurt or a piece of fruit when I go home. For me, it actually had the same effect, so I was happy and I saved money. Okay, moving on to the next category, study materials. Now I'm sure that for those of you studying in the US, the UK, or in the top schools in your field in Europe, you got a nasty shock when on top of the hefty student fees that you're paying each year to study, they want you to spend more money on books and study materials for your course. Fortunately, it is possible to save money on this, and I think with the digitalization of learning experience over time, this is becoming easier to do. So the first thing I would suggest before you spend any money is to try and get these resources for free. It's very possible that you can get books in your university library if there's enough copies available and if there's no restrictions on the time that you can borrow it, such that it will last for the length of your class. That's one option. Another option is that a lot of the books that universities use for their teaching now are sometimes available on their e-learning platforms, so perhaps it's already in your e-library and that will be included with your student fees. And if you really must spend money on books, see if you can get it secondhand first, because you'll pay a lot less than if you buy it brand new. And then at the end of your student experience, you can sell them on to the next person so you get some of your money back. And finally, the final category I want to touch on is food and eating out. Though I don't look like it, I'm a big food person. I really like eating, so I really struggle with this and still struggle with this a little bit today. It's very tempting when all your friends are eating out and going to restaurants and ordering takeaways to follow them and do the same. However, eating out is a lot more expensive than doing shopping at the supermarket, and this will quickly add up over time. I challenge you to take your bank statement from last month and add up the total that it cost you to eat out and to order takeaways. I guarantee it will make you think twice before you order takeaway again. So my suggestions to save money on eating out: obviously buy food from the supermarket where you can, but not only that, I'd say plan your meals for the week so that you can build a shopping list and you stick to that shopping list and that meal plan. By doing so, you don't buy more food than you need, and you also reduce the amount of food you throw away in food waste. My next recommendation is to save eating out for a few times a month or make a special occasion of it. Not only will you save money, but it will also be a very rewarding and positive experience due to the low frequency at which you do it, and it will feel like a treat and it will give you a nice positive mental boost. And when you eat out, try and take advantage of offers. Maybe there's 2 for 1, maybe there's a free burger with the meal when you buy it. I know at least in the UK there's a lot of student discounts available to you, so do take advantage of them while you're able to. And don't be afraid to ask a particular restaurant if they have student discounts on offer. Lastly, if you do want to frequently eat and meet up with friends, another thing you can do is invite friends over to someone's house and you can all cook together and then eat a meal that's been freshly cooked. By doing so, you can all save money. Perhaps you can all contribute a little bit towards the ingredients, and that way it works out nice and cheap for everyone and you all save money. At the time of recording this video, I am aware that there are some restrictions in different countries on the number of people that can be together at one time. And in some places, there's even restrictions on visiting other households where you don't live. So if you are going to consider inviting friends over and cooking a meal and eating together at this time, do so carefully, safely, and please respect the restrictions and the guidance of your local government. Now, before I sum up this video, I just want to give you a quick reflection on my thoughts on the overall student experience. For me, the most important things when you're a student is to make friends and build a professional network. The people who you know today could one day be future entrepreneurs, they could be future CEOs, directors, managers in the world's biggest companies. You never know where a friendship that starts today can take you, and you never know how someone else that you met in university might be able to help you in the future and how you might be able to help them. In addition, it's obviously a time where you grow as a person, not just professionally, but as an individual, and you learn about what you like, what you don't like, and what you want to do with your life. And whilst I've been giving you these tips, these are the key points that I kept in mind. And as I used them in my own university career, I can definitely say that I managed to check all those boxes, and I feel like I still got the most out of my university experience. So let me summarize how to save money on those 4 key categories again. So don't feel obliged to spend extra money on student accommodation if you don't want to. Socializing is great, but it doesn't have to be all the time, and it doesn't always have to involve alcohol necessarily. Before you buy new study materials and books, see if you can get them through your university's physical or e-library first. And if you do have to spend money, see if you can get them secondhand. And finally, try and reduce the number of times you eat out. And if you do eat out, try and take advantage of discounts where you can. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoy it. Be sure to check out the Millennials with Money internet and social media pages. I'll see you on the next one. Let's get this money.